In the land of Egypt, the cries of the Hebrews echoed beneath the blazing sun. Beaten, broken, and enslaved for generations, their prayers rose like smoke from a dying fire desperate for deliverance. Pharaoh's heart was a fortress of stone, unmoved by their suffering. Moses, once a prince of Egypt, now a fugitive turned shepherd, wandered the desert wilderness. His soul carried the weight of his people's pain, but the flame in his heart flickered low. That is, until the sky split open. A storm, unlike any the desert had known, churned above Mount Horeb. Thunder roared, and lightning struck the earth with divine fury. From the heart of the storm, a figure descended cloaked in lightning, eyes ablaze with ancient fire. Thor, thought the god of thunder, had been cast out of Asgard by the All-Father, not for disobedience, but for pride, for relying on his hammer more than his heart. Sent to a foreign timeline to learn humility, Thor landed not in a realm of gods, but in the land of Exodus. Moses raised his staff in defense, his face firm. "Who are you that disturbs the silence of this holy mountain?" Thor looked upon him not with arrogance, but curiosity. "I am Thor Odinson, once of Asgard. I seek purpose, and perhaps redemption." The burning bush crackled nearby, still, untouched by flame, yet full of divine presence. A voice, calm and commanding, rang out. "He shall walk with you, Moses. His power is great, but it is I who command the winds and seas." Thor fell to one knee, awestruck. For the first time in centuries, he felt the presence of a power greater than the 9 realms. Moses lowered his staff. "A warrior who bows to the Most High," Moses said. "Then walk with me. There is a people to free, and a Pharaoh to confront." Thus began an unlikely alliance between a Hebrew prophet and a Norse god, one armed with the staff of miracles, the other with the hammer of thunder. But even they could not imagine the fury of Pharaoh, or the trials that lay ahead. Pharaoh Ramesses II sat upon his throne of gold, his eyes narrow and cruel. The sun god Ra was his idol, power, his obsession. Reports had reached him of a prophet Moses had returned from the wilderness with strange signs and a bold demand, "Let my people go." And beside him, a stranger with eyes like lightning and a hammer that called the storms. Pharaoh scoffed. "Do you think your magic tricks can threaten a god on earth?" Moses and Thor entered the great hall. Slaves cowered in corners, guards flanked the golden pillars, and a serpent curled at Pharaoh's feet. Moses stepped forward. "The Lord, the God of Israel, says, 'Let his people go.'" Ramesses leaned forward. "And who is this God of storms at your side?" Thor stepped forward, Mjolnir crackling. "I am no god to challenge yours, but I serve the one who made the storm itself." Pharaoh laughed. "Then let your God make a sign." Moses raised his staff. With a mighty wave, the waters from the palace fountain turned blood red. The courtiers gasped, but Pharaoh's heart was unmoved. He summoned his own magicians, who imitated the sign with their dark arts. The room echoed with whispers and fear. Thor's grip tightened on Mjolnir. "This is just the beginning," Moses warned, and so began the plagues. When frogs invaded every chamber, Thor helped protect the Hebrew children, summoning winds to clear their homes. When darkness swallowed the sun for 3 days, Thor stood atop a hill, watching the helpless cries of a city that mocked the true light. He learned not to strike with rage, but to wait on the word of the Lord. This humbled the son of Odin more than any war ever had. "Your God is not like mine," Thor confessed one night to Moses. "He waits, he warns, he breaks, not with rage, but righteousness." Moses nodded, "And yet his mercy endures." But Pharaoh's pride refused to bend, not even when fire and hail rained from the sky, not even when locusts devoured Egypt's wealth. Only one plague remained. The night of judgment was near. A strange silence had fallen over Egypt, not the silence of peace, but of something waiting. The final warning had been given. Moses had stood before Pharaoh one last time. His voice was grave, his words final. "Thus says the Lord, around midnight I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son shall die from the palace to the prison." Even Thor, the god of thunder, felt the weight of those words in his chest. He was a warrior, he had seen death, but this was something different. This was divine justice. Thor walked among the Hebrews as the sun set. Families were preparing, lambs smearing blood upon their doorposts, just as Moses had commanded. He approached a small home where a father knelt with his sons, dipping hyssop into the blood. The child looked up at Thor with wide eyes. "Will the storm come tonight?" he asked. Thor knelt, lowering his mighty presence to the boy's level. "No, little one. Tonight, a greater storm passes over, but you are safe beneath the mark of mercy." The boy touched Thor's hammer. "Do you have blood on your door?" Thor looked away. He had no home, no door to mark, no people to protect, and no blood to offer. Later that night, Thor found Moses standing under the stars, his face tense. "You asked them to believe in blood, in a sign painted by lambs," Thor said. "Why not stand and fight the angel that comes?" Moses didn't flinch, because no strength, no hammer can stop what is coming. Only obedience, only faith. Thor clenched. "Mjolnir, what kind of power is this, that destroys the strong, yet spares the humble?" Moses looked him in the eyes. "A power not of conquest, but of covenant. You have faced gods, Thor. Now witness the God above them all." Then came midnight. The angel of death moved through Egypt like a whisper of wind. Doors marked with blood were passed over Sekf. But the cries began to rise from palaces, from huts, from prisons. Sons were gone, heirs were taken. Mothers wailed. In Pharaoh's palace, his own firstborn lay cold, and Ramesses screamed into the night. Thor stood on a rooftop, watching. His hammer was useless. There was nothing to strike, nothing to save. He fell to his knees. "This is power, beyond any realm I've known," he whispered. And in that silence, he understood. Not all salvation comes by force. Sometimes it comes by blood. Before the first light of dawn, the Hebrews marched. Hundreds of thousands walked with haste, guided by Moses, carrying not just belongings, but generations of pain. Their feet touched the dust of a freedom they had never known. Thor walked beside them, silent. Behind them, smoke rose from Egypt, and behind that smoke came vengeance. Pharaoh's heart, shattered by grief, had hardened once again. With chariots, swords, and soldiers like a tide of iron, he pursued the slaves he had once owned. By nightfall, the Hebrews reached the Red Sea. Waves stretched endlessly before them. Behind them, the rumble of chariots grew louder. Mothers held children tighter. The old prayed, the young panicked. Moses stood at the shore. Thor joined him. "There's nowhere left to run," Thor said, lightning sparking behind his eyes. "Let me face them. I will hold the army back." Moses did not answer. He raised his staff high, and the wind shifted. The sea began to groan. "Is this your God again?" Thor asked, stepping back. The waters began to divide, massive walls of liquid rising on either side. A dry path formed in the middle, stretching to the other shore. Thor's jaw dropped. "I've opened realms. I've crossed galaxies, but I've never seen this." Moses lowered his staff and spoke calmly. "Walk, and watch what the Lord will do." The people crossed, first in fear, then in awe. As they moved between walls of water, Pharaoh's army surged after them. The first chariots hit the edge of the path just as the last families stepped onto the other shore. Thor turned, his hammer alive with thunder. "Now I fight." He lifted Mjolnir high, and storm clouds roared overhead. Lightning crashed down, striking the front lines of the Egyptian army. Horses screamed, soldiers scattered, but they kept coming. Moses, now on the far shore, turned to face the sea once more. He raised his staff. Thor looked at him, then understood. He flew into the sky, hovering above the water. "Do it." With a cry to heaven, Moses brought the staff down. The walls of water collapsed with earth-shaking fury. Waves devoured the army of Pharaoh. Chariots vanished beneath the flood. Silence returned to the sea. Thor descended slowly, landing beside Moses, his armor soaked, his face humbled. "I've fought gods, demons, titans," Thor whispered, "but today I witnessed true judgment and true mercy." Moses looked at him. "And now you know, it is not might that saves, it is faith." Thor nodded. "Then I will carry that more than my hammer." As the sun rose, the Hebrews sang, and Thor, son of Odin, walked among them, no longer a stranger, but a servant of the Most High. His hammer now rested at his side, lighter than before, because his heart was finally full. What to do next? Subscribe to MCU Marvel Christian Universe for more epic faith-fueled stories. If you loved seeing Thor walk through the Exodus, wait until you see what happens when Captain America marches beside Joshua at Jericho.